A warm welcome and a very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the inaugural CEO Compact organized by the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. Just to give a preamble to CPM Sri Lanka, it is set up in the year 2008 with a membership now over 3,500 members. And the Institute is engaged in professional management, conducting various professional management programs, executive management development programs, knowledge sharing sessions, research forums, international management conferences, and also releases a biannual journal, and also engage in various networking events for the members and as well as the corporate clients. So CPM Sri Lanka is recognized internationally and is an active member of the Association of Management Development Institutions in South Asia, popularly known as AMDISA. And we are an organization keen and focused on sustainability as well. And even the invitation that we sent to you was designed to generate a plant with seeds, as the C-level executives who are also keen on sustainability, we hope that you will plant it when you go back and assist the sustainable environment. Today we have invited the Clarendon scholar Dr. Romesh Ranawana to deliver the keynote presentation on artificial intelligence and machine learning, what boards and CEOs should know, to bring us the latest information on the subject. Let me also be mindful to remind of our valuable sponsors, MasterCard, which is the strategic partner of CPM Sri Lanka. Prior to moving to the keynote address, let me take the opportunity to officially welcome all of you. And to do the honors, let me invite none other than the founder and the president of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka, Professor 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐩𝐚 Wattawala.
Good morning to all of you. I'm indeed happy to see all your smiling faces this morning. I think it's quite early, most probably as directors, CEOs and senior managers. I'm sure you would have been in office by 7:30, because that's one of the most important things of managers, to look at timekeeping. I think we are very happy that you're all here. As you know that today, I don't have to say very much of the Chartered Professional Managers, because everything was shown there. And I'm very happy that today we are having our inaugural CEO Compact. Now this is a very important event that we are organizing. It's the first one that we are doing. And also, I must thank all of you for your kind presence, because if not for your participation and presence, we will never be able to make anything a success. So you can always see the strength of teamwork, which you see in your own organizations. And of course, the most important thing, that all of them pulling in one direction. This is the missing factor. We are pulling in so many directions, and then you can see what has happened to our country. So I think you are exceptional. You are quite different from maybe what we call the government sector or state sector, because they do not have accountability. There is some important area that the private sector has got. Even all those who are present here, maybe majority are from the private sector, but you have something to gain, because you have attended this important event, because you know that by attending this, that you can gain something, you'll be able to implement it in your organization. And of course, the most important thing of all professionals, continuing professional development. You see, without that, I think a manager or anyone in any field will not be able to progress. As you know, things are changing so fast. Of course, Dr. Romesh Ranawana is here with us, but in Sri Lanka, what I can see is more than the digital world, the other things are changing. One is the taxation. if you see, taxation has been one of the most popular, I think, one concern, because it has a personal interest. This is something that is lacking in many of us. Because as someone, Okuza, I've been both in the state sector and the private sector, and I can see that unless you have the dedication that you have, the integrity that you have, the honesty that you display, the way that you manage your staff and your organization, it's really very difficult to get things done. So with all these successes, I'm wondering why, or you may be wondering why our country is in this situation. But I can tell you that today our keynote speaker, who is going to speak on artificial intelligence and machine learning, what board CEOs should know. I'm sure most of you will know it, but it will really enable you to maybe to learn further and to improve not only yourself, but your organization. Because we always see and talk, in fact, I was just speaking to Dr. Romesh also, it is what is called the value creation. Today, many people do not realize this value creation. If you do not create value, you know that you will never keep anyone in your organization. But in the government sector, the state sector, it is very different. That is why we are in this unfortunate situation. But we should know that we have to set the trend to the government sector. Because today, as you know, many companies have suffered losses. Not because that they have not managed their companies well, but because due to external reasons. If you look at the depreciation of the currency, you can see that companies have shown billions of rupees as losses. So you can see that although you may be doing the best, if you are not concerned of what is happening, if you do not tell the government and the state that they should do these things in the correct manner, we are going to be in big trouble. Because you know that we achieved independence in 48. But you know that you would have read in the papers, only 2 years did we have a surplus budget. Now I can ask any one of you who are present here, who are really directors, CEOs, board managers, CFOs, do you think that your organization can even run for 1 or 2 years with a deficit? Can you do that? But then you always clap and say, government is giving us incentives, they are giving us tax incentives, they are giving all the things, but ultimately, what are they doing? They are borrowing. And as a result, today, we are in great indebtedness. So that's why we need to show the way. If we do not show the way, I don't think the people will realize what is happening. Either the chambers of commerce or the professional bodies need to show that way. That's why, because when I say managers, it is not restricted to one profession. Managers are multidisciplinary. That's why all of you are present here. Because I don't have to talk of an engineer or doctor or accountant, but we are all managers. That's the significant thing. That's why we set up this body, the Chartered Professional Managers. We found that it was a missing link. And of course, I must thank the All India Management Association at that time in 2008, where I was able to speak to them, and they initially came and gave us the support to do this. Sometimes linking up is very important, but linking for the benefit of everyone, that's something that we have to do. We have to create the public trust, we have to create the public confidence. Although you are in the private sector, most of the services that you are doing is going to the public. We have something what is called the society. Society are the people of this country. So we have to do things to benefit them. So I am very happy that you have been able to come here, but education is a key to this. I am sure Dr. Romesh Ranawana will be able to talk. He is talking about this digitalization because of the education. Sri Lanka has been able to do and give a very good education to all. That is one of the most important thing. But unfortunately, you see, when you look at state education, if you have 150,000 passing, only 30,000 or 40,000 can go to the universities. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. Are we really going to keep everything to the state, and then keep out the majority of the people. If there's 150,000, 140,000 going, 110,000 going, not getting into the universities. I can see Mr. Dadlani here. If you look at the Indian system, you know, they have their government universities. And what do they have? They have colleges. If you just take the Pune University has 600 colleges, 600,000 students. So either Colombo University or the Jayawardhanapura University, one university can do this for us. But unfortunately, they say everything must be given free. I do not think people are asking for that. This is asked by certain people who want to capitalize it and deprive the people of their rights. So I think today we have to stand up to that. We are prepared to pay. Today everyone is leaving the country. Why? All of them are going, many of them for education. If you look at your staff, some of them, I know, they are saying they are going to do MBA. Some of them are going to do the university degree. I will ask any one of you, have you employed any graduates? You know the main reason. 25 years, 26 years. Are you going to employ them? But if you get a graduate at 20 or 21 years, everyone will put their hand up, because you can train them, you can really get them into your organization and teach them what has to be done. This is what we experience. Unfortunately, people at the top are not realizing this. They do not know the importance of these things. Age is the most important thing. Look at the time that they are wasting. So these are all management decisions. You see, you can be in any profession, but if you do not take the correct management decision, you see, every time you will not go wrong, but out of 100, if you can have 90%, 80% right, then you are in the right direction. Because your company, every decision that you are taking is not going to give you profit. Some of those are done maybe for the benefit of the society. But we should know the majority should be there. If you look at our country, you can see the majority were wrong decisions. That is why we are in this situation. People who took the loans did not know for what purpose they were taking it, how they are going to repay it. I will ask any one of you who are present here, would you have done that in your company? Your boss would have kicked you out the next day. So this is the difference, you know. We have to have this feeling. We have to give this to the government. We have to tell the state sector, this is what we are doing, but you are destroying us. If you do not do what we are doing, this country will never be able to get up. So I am sure that all of you who are present here, I don't want to speak too much, because I can tell you that the turning point in this country will be artificial intelligence and machine learning. So our key speaker here, the Dr. Romesh Ranawana, who is the Group Chief Analytics and AI Officer of Dialog Axiata, will be able to tell you that. Because this, if you do, this is not only for you, your staff, your children, the young people. We need to give them this opportunity. If they do that, then you are really going to be a real manager, a special manager, and an exceptional manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for welcoming the gathering. And on that note, let us move on to the keynote speaker, and rather the session that all of us are waiting for. And once the keynote session finishes, we have the opportunity to raise any questions, so I'm sure the speaker will be able to answer. So Dr. Romesh Ranawana is a Group Chief Analytics and AI Officer at Dialog Axiata PLC, and prior to inviting him to the podium, I have the honors of introducing him in his illustrious profile. Dr. Ranawana brings a wealth of experience and expertise in the field of analytics and artificial intelligence, having worked in multiple industries. Dr. Ranawana was a co-founder, CTO, and managing director of SimCentric Technologies Private Limited, and thereafter founded and functioned as the CTO of 𝐂𝐚𝐧𝐤𝐚 UAV. After exiting from these companies, he founded Enterprise Machine Learning Private Limited, a consultancy firm advising several multinational organizations on their AI transformation. Over the last year, in his role as a consultant, Dr. Ranawana assisted Dialog and Axiata in the scaling of analytics and AI across the group and played a pivotal role in the AI Factory program. Dr. Ranawana holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Artificial Intelligence from the University of Oxford and a first-class honors degree in computer science from the University of Peradeniya. In his capacity as a Group Chief Analytics and AI Officer, Dr. Ranawana provides leadership to all analytics and AI initiatives across the Dialog Group. Dr. Ranawana, over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to be here. I think it's really early in the morning to be talking about AI. I'm a pure techie, and I usually work through the night, and this is around the time I usually wake up. And it's really nice to see so many people here, and the interest that's there in what AI is. The talk I'm going to give today is, I think, probably very different to what you all have heard earlier, where you would have talked about AI applications and things like that, governance, risk, the regulators. But today my talk is primarily focused around what companies need to do to actually build value using AI, how to create impact, how to create value. And that takes a fundamental shift of mindset. And I'll walk you through a lot of details. I'm going to give you a lot of new information today, probably stuff that you have never heard before. But I need to stress that what I'm doing today is just skimming the surface. There's a lot more that you need to dig in. But what I hope I'll do today is give you a glimpse of the types of things that you need to look at, especially from a strategic perspective, how you would manage an AI transformation of a company. After today, when I show you the scale of what you need to do to actually create value, some of you may just walk away and say, this is too much, I'm not going to do this. And that's fine. But you've got to understand that an AI transformation is not simple. To generate value in a company is not simple. And I'll walk you through some of the stuff that we've been working on over the last few years. There's been a lot of stats, a lot of reports on what companies have got out of AI. But in today's talk, I'm going to use what's probably the latest set of results that I found online. There are two reports by McKinsey and another one by BCG, which I'm going to use as facts, use as the stats to back what I'm going to talk about. So first part of my talk is I'm going to give you some good news and then a little bit of bad news. And then I'll show you how to get over that bad side. So to start with, this was a startling fact that I found online, where since 2000, 52% of the companies that were in the Fortune 500 in the US have either gone bankrupt or been acquired or ceased to exist. And that's startling. These were the biggest companies in the world. And the main reason for this happening was digitization. Those companies which did not digitize on time lost productivity, lost their competitiveness, and other companies came on board and took over their market. And these companies basically ceased to exist. And these are companies which nobody thought would fail. And the current understanding or the current perception is that AI and machine learning will have a similar effect on companies over the next 10 to 15 years. Those companies which don't adopt AI on time and don't know how to use it properly. And all of you would have been part of digitization efforts over the last few years. You know that digitization is not just about buying a system and putting it into your company. There's a lot more involved, how your company uses it, how you utilize it going forward. And AI is probably similar, but a lot more complex, which I'll walk you through today. So the current stats are that the current estimates amongst most of the markets around the world is that AI will add around 7% increase in global GDP over the next 10 years, which translates to roughly about 11 trillion values, US dollars in value over the next few years. And this value is really driven by the potential for increased revenue. You can create new products and new services using AI. Cost reduction, the types of, by automating, doing stuff like that using AI. And just recently, especially with what we've seen with ChatGPT, the large language models coming in, there's also a benefit for companies in increasing their productivity, which I'll walk you through all of these through my talk today. And the best example that you can think of, or the best proof of concept on the value of AI is if you look at the largest companies in the world, those companies which dominate their space, from Amazon in retail, hospitality, you have Airbnb and Booking.com, taxis, Uber, grocery, Ocado, financial in pharmaceuticals, Moderna. Every single one of these companies, their success and market dominance is because of their capacity in AI. Amazon, about 35 to 40% of their EBITDA is generated through AI. Through their and this is revenue, not cost savings. They have a separate wing altogether, which optimizes their logistics and does all that. So really, if you look at the top companies in the world, their secret sauce and the reason for them dominating the market is their prowess in AI. But every single one of these companies, the AI transformation was not overnight. Especially Amazon, they admit that it took them about 15 years to get to the level that they are today. And all the other companies, Uber, the companies we started it first, took at least about 10 years to get to that point where they were mature enough, their staff understood how to use it, they had the technology stack and also the staff to build these systems, to put it all together, and that was the journey. So really, what AI has done, it has changed the paradigm on how to manage companies. But the dilemma that all of you all have is that if you move too slowly, a competitor could come in using AI and be able to offer their services with a lot more competitiveness. They'll be able to offer it cheaper. They'll be able to offer better services, and that will drive you out of business. But also, if you move too quickly, if you don't know what you're doing, then you run the risk that you lose your investment. You move too fast and you're not able to generate value in your company. So coming up with that middle ground on not moving too slowly and not moving too quickly, but maintain and build on your competitiveness and also build capacity, that's the challenge. And this is shown by a lot of stats that we are seeing. This is a study I'll be using throughout my talk to show you the numbers. This was a study done by McKinsey last year of about 3,000 corporates in the US who they surveyed. And what they found is that the AI adoption across these 3,000 companies over the last 5 years has almost doubled from 2017 to 2019. But then through the COVID years, it has sort of plateaued. But still that investment is there. Most of this, so about 50% of the companies are investing in AI. But here comes the problem. Of these companies who have invested in AI, these 1,500 companies who have invested in AI, only 10% of those companies are showing any sort of significant financial impact from their AI investments. The other 90% have really nothing much to show. And my talk today is really the reasons behind that. What have these 10% of companies done that's different to the other 90%? What has given them that dominance? So really, the difference lies in the approach to an AI transformation. So let me divide the companies up into two categories. Let's say we take that 10% of companies as high performers, and the benchmark here is that at least 20% of their EBIT comes from AI and analytics. And the rest are those who are not getting that type of impact from AI. The first one, the big difference is on how they look at strategy and investment. If you look at most companies, even in Sri Lanka, what I've seen is that the AI investment, the AI strategy, it is led by a technical team. It's primarily AI investments are looked at as capex, where you try to bring a system in, and you hope that this will drive value going forward. There's a limited AI strategy where you look at things in isolation, in silos, and not as a larger part of the organization. And you also have siloed use cases where you don't look at a larger strategy, but you try to attack small problems here and there. And primarily, AI is looked as a means to automate their current processes. Not reinvent processes, but look at how you're doing things now and automate certain parts of it. But if you look at the high performance, the big difference is that the AI transformation is led by the senior leadership, by the board and the CEO. AI investments are primarily looked at as OpEx. It's not something that you invest once and then you can run on it for a while. It's something that you got to invest over time, where you build capacity both in the people, the technology, the processes, your business model, and you have that patience to run the hard yards. Strategy is driven by value and impact, and not by trying to show what you can do or show isolated use cases. You are really focused on value, and that's how you prioritize your projects. And there's a strategic commitment, alignment, and coordination amongst the divisions. It's not done in isolation in parts of the company. And like I said, you look at use cases beyond automation. You're not only looking at automation, but you're also looking at new value creation. You're looking at productivity improvements, things like that. So it's not only limited to automating your current processes. And I'll walk you through some of these details through my talk. And then the building blocks. What do you need to do an AI transformation? Most companies, that 90%, look at the building blocks for an AI transformation of the technology that you buy and the technology personnel. But if you look at that 20%, they look at business alignment, the people. And the people here is not only the technical stuff, but the non-technical stuff as well, how you transform the rest of the stuff, the technology, and also the processes. There has to be a heavy investment in data and the AI systems, obviously. You need to have a really solid data foundation layer, which I'll once again give you some details, and the AI systems. And finally, you got to understand that AI and analytics is a journey. It's not a short-term commitment. It's, like I said, even the best companies usually take a few years to be able to show that investment. And that's the main message I want to give. If you start today, you will probably be able to show results in about 3 or 4 years. But if you start in 3 or 4 years' time, that's going to be another 3 or 4 years after that. So that's the challenge, and that's the challenge for most CXOs. How do you justify this investment to your board, to your investors? And you got to make that business case. And what I'm going to do today is walk you through some of the strategies you can use for that. So let's start with strategy and investment. The main thing that you got to understand to actually create value with AI is that AI needs to be applied across the business model, all the way from value creation, value delivery, and value capture. This means that you got to use AI to match the needs and the solutions that you have in your company. You got to do it to mobilize the inputs, everything that you do with value delivery and also value capture. And the main principles that if you speak to most AI transformation experts around the world, they will show you that something that's really important is that your whole company needs to have a single strategy for your AI transformation. However large your company is, you've got to have a single strategy which encompasses the entire company and not individual divisions. And that's a mistake I've seen many companies make around the world, including the really, really large ones. Second one is you need to have architectural clarity. That means your entire AI system needs to be built on a single architecture. If not, it just takes too much effort to scale, translate, and build new capacity into your company. And that's the same. I'm sure you had that same problem when you're dealing with your ERP, any sort of digitization effort. If you don't have a singular architecture, it's very, very hard to maintain that going forward and build new capacity. Third, you got to have an agile mindset, because AI systems rarely work the first time you put it in. You got to keep modifying it and improving them. And that too, an AI system that works today will probably not work tomorrow, because the market changes, things change. So you got to have an agile mindset to be able to continuously keep adapting your AI systems. And that's not only the agile mindset, your technological platform also has to enable you to be agile. You need to be able to think of a new idea and push it into your systems within a day or two. And that requires a tech platform which allows you to do that. And that, once again, is an investment that companies need to make. Then you need to invest in the capability foundations. You need deep foundations in capacity, software, data science, analytics. And you need to create alternative career paths in your company. If you don't have that, you're not going to retain these people. And building AI capacity means you need to hire good people. There's a huge correlation between the quality of the people you have in your company and the results that you get. So how to retain these people, hire these people, is a challenge, which means that most companies are now being forced into creating alternative career paths for data scientists, machine learning engineers, and people like that. And finally, it's very, very important to have multidisciplinary governance. If you leave governance of your systems to your tech people, once again, that's a recipe for disaster. You need to have multidisciplinary governance which covers everything from compliance, risk, into your AI system, because here you're talking about large-scale automation, which can be very dangerous if you just let it go. So altogether, what we are looking for is leadership needs to set the strategy and execution, the investment. They need to have a strategy for the transformation, the capability foundations, technology foundations, governance, which will eventually affect the main elements, which are the people, processes, and technology. And this really has to be led at the board, CEO, and senior executive level. If not, it just becomes a nice project that you can talk about at the end of it. So these are some stats, like I said, that we got that came out from this McKinsey report last year, actually at the beginning of this year. So this breaks down all those 3,000 companies into high performers and all other respondents. And as you can see, in these seven pillars, the high performers are clearly ahead of all the other respondents. They have a roadmap which clearly prioritizes AI initiatives, have an AI strategy that's aligned to the corporate strategy and goals. It's not in isolation, it's linked to what the company wants to achieve. Senior management is fully aligned and committed to an organization's AI strategy. This, once again, is a big problem that most companies have. If part of your board is not in agreement, don't do it. You got to have your entire senior management buying into this, because this is going to be a long-term commitment. If they're not willing to do the yards, don't start it. You're just going to waste a lot of money. Have a clearly defined AI vision and strategy. You have to have a credible leader of AI initiatives, and that's very important. And we found that in the US now, the most highly sought after job in the world is the head of AI or the chief analytics and data officer. That's being applied across the US. And there was actually an article on Wired yesterday, which said that the most sought after job at the moment on LinkedIn is the chief data officer of a company, but nobody really knows what they do. So that's a challenge. Companies are still figuring out. If you look at what a chief data officer, chief AI officer does in a company, it's fundamentally different across different companies. So this is still a role that is evolving. But we do find that most of the companies who are showing results have appointed that senior person to, and there's once again a lot of stats available online. Then a way to systematically track a comprehensive set of well-defined KPIs to measure the incremental impact and have a clear framework for AI governance. So as you can see, there's a clear difference between those high performers and those companies which are not showing results. And the ROI from AI is, from those stats, this is a report by BCG, are clearly linked to the returns that you're getting. So the graph on the left in green is the proportion of AI investment of the entire digitization budget. And you can see the higher that proportion, the higher the returns seem to be. So these companies which have about 43% of their digitization budget committed to AI are showing about 20% EBITDA from their investments. So move on to the next one, which is the building blocks. So once again, the common understanding amongst most senior executives that I've spoken to is that the understanding of an AI transformation is the investment in the technology and those technical stuff we're going to do it. But my experience working over the last 20 years in AI is that the actual AI part and the technical part, in terms of getting returns, is not more than 30% of the picture. The other 70%, the really, really important part, is how you combine that with strategy. You align your processes, and you re-engineer processes, and how you integrate AI into your larger company. So you got to think about the technology and the staff. You need the staff to build these systems, how you integrate AI. Something that's very, very important, and we are finding this in Dialog as well. Something that's really driving value is collaboration. How we create these cross-functional teams where the technical staff don't work in isolation, but they combine together and work together in combined teams with the business units, the marketing units, the data service units. And we've been experimenting this at Dialog as well, and we've been seeing unbelievable results through that. Because if the technical staff work in isolation, they build what they want. But what we really want is for the technical staff to build what the company wants. And for that, they got to interact almost on a daily basis with those technical staff. And we've linked that with joint accountability. What we've done now is we've created joint KPIs, shared KPIs between the technical staff and the business staff as well. And that, once again, has been highly successful for us. And then, based on what we find, we have to continuously keep re-engineering the processes to suit the AI and to generate the value out of the AI. We don't re-engineer AI to fit in with our current processes. We go the other way around. What we do is we re-engineer the processes to get the best out of our AI systems. And that's why I said it's a much larger ecosystem that you've got to build. And that will not work if this is led by the technical staff. It's got to be led from right at the top. So the components of an AI transformation are obviously the technology, the data, the AI models, production environment, execution, but very importantly, the people. And when I say people, it's not only the technical staff, but also the non-technical staff. The rest of your company, that 70% of your company, has to understand how to use AI, how to get the best out of AI, and also build something called organizational learning, which I'll talk about in a bit later. But then that has to be combined with your business model and the processes. And these are the different building blocks that you need to put together. Too much of a focus on only the technology will cause more problems than not. So what I find is that the biggest focus that I now put in most companies is that I don't focus too much on the technology. That we know how to do now. It's not a big deal. It's much more of a focus on the non-technical stuff, and also how you change the business model and the processes to fit in with how you use AI. And once again, the stats that we found from that McKinsey study do the same. First is how you take a full life cycle approach to developing and deploying AI models. You just don't first develop a model, do a prototype, then see how it works, and then invest in integrating in your system. That takes years. From the time you start building an AI model, you're talking about how it's going to fit into your system. You take that full end-to-end view. Right at the start, you take it into inception. That's something we are trying to do at Dialog as well. You integrate AI technologies into business processes. You have teams for data science and AI design, have well-defined capability building programs. That's very important because the space is moving ahead so fast that if you don't invest in allowing your staff to keep developing and learning what's latest in technology, once again, you're going to fall behind. You got to train non-technical personnel to use AI to improve decision making, and that's something that many companies don't do. You got to invest in your other staff as well to make sure that they understand how to use AI. And AI development teams follow a standard protocol. So let's go on to the next one, which is data and AI systems. So one of the key pillars, the foundation of a house, like having your wiring and your plumbing, is obviously the data that you have in your company and how you use that data, how you integrate your data, and how you build your actual AI systems. So the three parts, let's first talk about this thing. So you need, in terms of AI, this entire technical ecosystem, you need an organization-wide, integrated, and centrally managed data system. And I'll explain what this means. You also need centrally managed AI systems, which I'll go into details in a bit, and also end-to-end automation. And what this will do is it'll give you a robust data infrastructure, which allows you to do not just one thing with one bit of data, but 100 different things with the same bit of data. You need centralized data management and governance, an effective production environment, which I'll also explain what that means, and end-to-end automation, and going forward. So data, as you understand, is the fuel which drives your AI systems. You can't have your AI systems without data. And one of the most important foundational steps that you need to invest in as a company is to first build an integrated data platform. And what this means is that every company has multiple data sources, databases, data coming from different places. The first step that you got to do is have a system, a technical system, which brings all this data into a single place. And usually, in technical jargon, this is called a data lake. And if you don't have data lakes, what you end up having is lots of siloed data across your organization where the data is not linked to each other. Different people know bits of data, but it's not all brought together. But I'm sure all of you know this, AI systems are better the more data that you give them. So the more data that you can bring across your organization, that makes your AI systems perform better. And also, once you have that in place, then you got to then clean the data, you got to send it into what's called a data warehouse, and then you generate certain insights based on the data into what's called a feature store. So most advanced AI companies have this centralized data infrastructure where data is not managed in silos, but it's managed in a single location right at the center. In these three layers, a data lake, a data warehouse, and a feature store. And also a centralized system which manages and governs this data at a central location. And then it's that data, that centralized data, that integrated data that's used for both AI system development and for the systems that you have deployed. This, I can't stress enough on this, it's probably one of the most foundational elements. I go into so many companies and I find that their data is extremely fragmented. You have different bits of data, different standards used for different bits of data, depending on if they had made an acquisition at some point, if they merged with some company. All this data is all in different places, in different formats. And you're not really capturing the network effects of your company because the data is all scattered and you can't link it together. So building this data infrastructure where, number one, the data is all in one place, and also it's continuously updated and available in real time is probably the biggest investment that you can make on your AI journey. So the main key here is that all your AI systems are developed and executed using the same source data. And this once again is backed by the numbers. Have the ability to integrate data into AI models quickly as needed, and that means data availability. I've been into so many companies where we've started an AI project and we're given 4 months to build this system. And what we find is we spend 3.5 months collecting the data, putting the data together and cleaning the data. And then you have like 2 weeks to build your AI model. That will never get you anywhere because you got to spend most of your time fine-tuning and getting your model built. So if you want to reduce that 3.5 months of data preparation into a day, this is where that integrated data platform works. And this is something, every single company I go to, what I say is, you shouldn't have to spend more than a couple of hours bringing your data together for a new AI project. And that requires a very, very comprehensive data platform to be available. You need to have integrated structured data. You need to integrate all your external data. Use synthetic data when you need to. But basically having that integrated data infrastructure is key. Then the next one is have a centralized system for your development of your AI models. So once again, here we have a centralized data structure. But then what you have is any software system goes through development and then production. Development is when the engineers, the scientists get together and they are building this system. So you have a single system you have a single platform and environment for AI system development. And then these systems are deployed. But something that even in Sri Lankan companies, what I found is that these deployed AI systems, I've seen companies which are using AI for marketing, for churn prediction and all that, but the link from here is usually manual. You get the output into an Excel file or something, and then you got to carry it and enter it into your CRM, and that's how it works. But the top-notch AI companies automate that going forward as well, where it's automatically linked to your CRM, the ERP, the customer service, whatever, where it's an end-to-end automated system and there are no manual steps anywhere in between. And the secret sauce, once again here, is that this whole system is managed by cross-functional teams. And these cross-functional teams are made up of the analytics and AI team who build the AI systems, the sales, operations teams who then manage the deployed systems and monitor them and know what to do, and the IT systems who manage automation. And it's these companies which are able to create these cross-functional teams where those teams don't work in isolation are usually getting the best results. And something that's very important here is to set up a real-time feedback mechanism where basically what's going on with your systems, the feedback is automatically sent back into the cross-functional team so that they can make decisions very, very fast, and it's a very agile framework. So getting this loop going is once again one of those investments that you need to make. So this infrastructure is essential to facilitate what we call organizational learning, which I'll talk about in a bit. So once again, the secrets for success: you need to be able to develop AI models that can provide accurate and usable results. Something that you got to keep in mind about AI models is that AI models have AI systems undergo what's called model degradation. Model degradation means the model performance will always drop over time. And that's because the ground situation is always changing. There were so many systems which were running before COVID, and the moment COVID hit, because people's behavior suddenly changed so much that all these systems had to be turned off because they were giving unreliable results. So in those type of situations, if your company takes 2-3 months to fix that and bring it in again, your company is going to run out of business. So that's why it's very important for you to have the ability to update these systems very fast, monitor them, know when they're going wrong, and also bring those changes in very, very fast. A lot of the companies that are showing results have shown that they develop these systems in-house, and that's usually one of the biggest challenges. How do you build technical capacity in-house? But if you use external vendors, that agility that you have can be severely diminished. Good example is, why is Tesla the most valuable car company in the world? That's nothing other than their software platform and their software capability. The ability that they built all their software in-house, it's modular, and they can push changes out almost, hourly to their customers. Whereas you go into Ford, Mitsubishi, all these companies, most of their software is built by external vendors. The moment they want something changed, they got to go through the RFP process, and it takes about 3-4 months for that cycle to come back. So those companies which are agile, which can do the changes themselves and do it quickly, usually come ahead of the others. Using a standardized tool set is also very important, because if you use too many different tools, once again, you lose your competitiveness and it takes longer to maintain these systems. Develop modular components. Just like with any software, the more broken up your software is into like Lego blocks, the easier it is to manage them going forward. And everything to do with model quality. So what they found is that the data in AI infrastructure, what it really brings most companies is the ability to be able to scale your systems and your products much, much faster. So those companies which have an extensive, quite a mature data and AI platform are able to scale much faster, and they're allowed to scale their AI use cases much faster. But the challenge that most companies around the world are facing, and especially in Sri Lanka, is the challenge in hiring technical talent. And the field of AI has now evolved so much that, like you get in software, where you can have full stack software engineers which can build your entire application end to end, full stack machine learning, data science, AI scientists don't exist yet. There are a number of skill sets that you need. Data engineers who take the data from the sources and bring it to your lake and do the cleaning and all that. Then you have the data scientists who generate insights out of your data. You have the machine learning engineers who build the models based on your data. You have design specialists, AI product owners. It's most of the time, if you use people who are not specialists in their field, it'll take you a bit longer to get those systems out. So, and that's a challenge, and especially in Sri Lanka, we are facing this every day at Dialog. We still have to hire software engineering graduates or statistics graduates and train them to be machine learning engineers, data scientists. But this is changing. There are more universities now who are producing AI data science graduates themselves, who we can hire and put them directly into those. But once again, you got to construct your team properly based on your priorities and have those different building blocks in place. And it's not just having 1 or 2 techies. You probably have to fill in all those important blocks going forward as well. And then let's move on to the final part. What I feel is the important part of the transformation is the journey. obviously, like I talked about earlier, you got to have the right data, the technology, the talent, organized around a corporate strategy. But those companies who just have the right data, technology, what they found, all the studies done up to now, and especially this study by BCG, is that only about 20% of those companies are able to show results, show some sort of results. The other big part that you got to bring into your company is what's called organizational learning. Organizational learning, in its essence, is where a company learns alongside the AI as they go along. What you have with organizational learning is where, when you first build the AI systems, it is built based on the knowledge of the people on the ground, the sales people, the service people, the retail people, the marketing people. They use those insights to first build the AI systems, and then you run these systems. Once you run them, you watch how they are performing, and then you learn on those insights that you had. Did they work? Didn't it work? And that's the feedback. Then you come back and you change your AI systems on where it's doing well and where it's not doing well. And you got to build that continuous loop where the AI is learning from the people in the company, and the people in the company are learning from the AI. And that, in its essence, is called organizational learning. And if you look at all the top AI companies in the world, the companies which are generating 20-30% of EBITDA using AI, what they have really invested in is this platform for organizational learning, where the people are working alongside the AI, where they're not running parallelly. It's part of one team, where they are both learning from each other and they're both improving each other. And that also requires a technical platform so that whatever you learn, you can push into your systems as fast as possible. And the research now shows that bringing in organizational learning increases the potential of you generating value by about 73%. And these are the numbers that BCG has shown. And I'll show you what the glide path for that is. So the normal, it looks a bit small, but the normal journey that BCG has identified for building AI, you start with what's called discovering AI. With discovering AI, what you're doing is you just dabble a bit, you learn a bit, you bring some stuff in, you learn what to do, and that, what they say is it increases the likelihood of you generating value by about 2%. It's not much, but if you're lucky, you may get some stuff out of it. Then, the next part is what's called building AI. And for that, you need to bring 3 things in, which is you need to build the infrastructure, the talent, and the strategy. And that, what they say, is increases the chance of you generating values up to about 20% or 21%. The next stage is the scaling AI phase, where you align production and consumption. You make sure that you're building the highest value use cases that your company needs at the time. Not small things that you're trying to prove yourself on, but you align production and consumption, where now even at Dialog, if you look at my backlog on the number of systems that people want built, at the moment it's about 250 use cases. And obviously I can't build all 250 at once. I can maybe build 3-4 at a time. So then my challenge is, how do I prioritize and how do I know which is the one I'm going to focus on for the next 6 months? And for that, that's based on the value to the company. What's the most valuable use case to the company today? That's what I build tomorrow. And that's what I mean by aligning production and consumption. And then finally, the big jump comes when you bring in organizational learning. When your AI staff know how to use AI, you have that knowledge, and you have the roles well defined on who owns the AI system, who monitors them, how do you send feedback back to the technical team. All that stuff is properly sorted out. So really, the successful companies in AI have continuous organizational learning. It's not only individual learning, but the organization learns all the time. So these companies facilitate systematic and continuous learning between humans and machines. They develop multiple ways for humans and machines to interact. And what I mean here is, when you talk about AI and automation, there are so many ways that you can put this into your operation model. You can take AI and replace people with a certain process, or AI can augment people, where they can work alongside people and be like advisors, robo-advisors. Or you can use AI where the people make a decision and you use AI to validate validate those results and say, did I do this correct? Do a post-mortem. So there are so many different ways that humans and machines can interact. And they change to learn and learn to change. And that's a big change here. So these organizations don't just change processes to use AI. They change processes in response to what they're learning from the AI. And this is that whole organization learning coming back in together. In terms of capacity, that's also, once again, a journey. And this is something that I think all of you all can do now. Usually the first step that I find most companies get to is what's called the descriptive stage. Descriptive stage is where you know what's going on in your company at any given time. Your data infrastructure is good enough where you can see what happened yesterday on a dashboard. And that takes a lot of investment. That takes a good technical architecture where everything is brought together and you can see all that data. And the next step is when you transform that infrastructure into being real time. You're not learning what happened yesterday, you're learning what's happening now. And that, once again, needs a much more complex, much more advanced infrastructure to get this data onto your dashboards in real time, and it's costly. The next step is diagnostic, where you can take the data that's there now, and if something went wrong, you can use AI to maybe find out why did this go wrong, or why did that go wrong. You can start to analyze and slice and dice the data and understand that. The next step that most companies progress to is what's called predictive, where if you know what the state of your company is today, then you can use forecasting, analytics, AI to maybe forecast forward. You can ask a question. If I run this sales campaign in Anuradhapura, what will my returns be? I know it's a long weekend. If I run it on this long weekend versus a normal weekend, what's it going to be? You can start forecasting. And that's called predictive analytics. And then the third one is prescriptive, which I don't think any company in Sri Lanka is at yet, but what companies like Amazon have got to, where in predictive, like I said, somebody's got to ask the question. If I run this campaign in Anuradhapura, what's going to happen? If I run this campaign in 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐩𝐚, what's going to happen? In prescriptive, what happens is the people don't ask the questions, but the system itself will go and ask about 1,000 different questions. It'll ask, what if I run in 𝐂𝐨𝐦, Anuradhapura, Kandy, bang, bang, bang. It'll run all these different simulations. And then at the end, say, oh, I think your best bet now is to focus this long weekend in Akrepattu. And where the system itself asks the questions and gives the answer, where you don't have to answer the question, it's like end-to-end holistic. So you won't be able to get to the prescriptive level from nothing to there. Once again, that's why I keep stressing here, it's a journey. You've got to go through those steps and you can get there. So to summarize, I think what you've got to understand is that an overview of the AI transformation journey, it's all about leadership, strategy, business model, and investment. And I hope I made that point. It's not only about the technological investment here. There's a much larger change needed if you want to generate value, if you want to generate significant value and impact. So you've got to get the basics right. You need to have your automated execution infrastructure, data infrastructure, AI model production, and you need your technical talent. But most importantly, and this is the secret sauce to generating value and impact, is the organizational transformation. How you align your organization with AI, you align your use cases with what the organization needs, really focus on value and impact, multifunctional teams, organization talent transformation. How do you take the staff that have been with you for a long time, you've got to uplift them as well so that they know how to use these systems. Continuous learning and upskill and governance. And this is where organizational learning comes in. So really, where the AI systems learn from the organization and you have that loop going, the AI systems are built based on what the organization learns and what the organization needs. And finally, based on how the AI systems are performing, you then keep updating and changing the processes to fit into that whole thing. And that eventually is what's going to give you value and impact. And that really is, I hope, is the main point I wanted to make today. I'll go through a few other things before I finish, but this is the main message I want to bring forward today. Some simple rules to follow. AI is essentially maths. It's not magic. So if your techies come and make it sound really confusing to you, chances are that they don't understand it themselves, right? So well-run AI projects should be very easy to understand. If somebody can't explain it to you in a simple way, chances are they don't understand it themselves. The most valuable component you have for your AI systems is your data. So focus more on the data than anything else. That's my rule of thumb. If you improve your data, everything else will flow on from there. You got to focus on impact and benefit. And what I always kept saying, you can't think of AI as a capital investment. It's got to be an operating expense that you invest over time, because you can't build that capacity overnight. It's not like digital systems where you buy something in, put it in, and you get the results from tomorrow. It just doesn't work like that. It only works when you transform your organization, the processes, the business model to fit it in as well. In terms of use cases, just to give you a snapshot. This, by the way, this McKinsey report is available online. It's called State of AI Report 2022. So you can search, all these numbers are there. As you can see, the main drivers for AI adoption are changing. In 2018, probably the most popular use cases are manufacturing and risk. But today, it's more marketing, sales, product development, and finance. Most of the use cases that companies select are either because they want to increase revenue or decrease cost. So in terms of cost benefits, supply chain management at the moment seems to be the one that's giving the best results in terms of reduction of costs. And most companies are seeing revenue and cost in service operations, manufacturing, human resources, the whole plethora of all the operations in the company. If you look at the top use cases, by far the most popular use case at the moment across most companies is service operations. Improving customer interactions and offering more personalized, customized, real-time services to customers. And then from there, creation of new AI products, customer service analytics, and stuff like that. Also, something that we've seen over the last few years is the number of AI capabilities that are being adopted by companies are changing. And I'll explain what that means. From most companies having at most about 2 capabilities in 2018, now they've gone up to almost 4. And what I mean by capabilities is even AI is not one huge field. There are lots of specialties inside there. You have robotic process automation, computer vision, natural language processing. Each one of these itself is a journey, and it takes time to build that capacity. So if you try to do everything at once again, it's not going to be that successful. You've got to pick 1 or 2, maybe computer vision, natural language processing, chatbots, whatever. First focus on that, build the value, and then move on to the next one. So which is what I'm talking here. AI capacity is even the top companies don't do more than 4 at once. They don't try to do everything at once. And this is something the board has to make sure that the techies don't go off on a strange tangent and try to do everything at once. At the moment, the most popular one is robotic process automation, because that gives you immediate returns. And they have remained the most popular one, RPA and computer vision. And just recently, natural language processing and also ChatGPT, all that has come to the fore. To end my talk, I'm just going to dwell slightly on generative AI, because that's the most hot topic at the moment with ChatGPT and all this stuff coming out. So generative AI is really the game changer in generative AI systems, is that these systems allow us to interact with computer systems using natural language. That itself is the biggest game changer. Earlier, for us to interact with computer systems, we either had to be a programmer to give instructions to a computer, or you have to interact with a machine using a graphical user interface. And that required training. You couldn't start using Excel tomorrow. If you have never used it before, you need some training. But now these generative AI models, what has been the game changer is that it allows us to interact with technology using speech, the way we normally talk. And that just puts everything upside down, because there are so many jobs even today that we think can only be done by humans because it requires a certain level of language skills. You need to read a certain number of books. You got to get your English skill up to a certain level to do those jobs. Marketing, copywriting, secretary, call centers, all that. But now with this technology, suddenly we can use technology for every single one of those jobs. And that is a game changer. This was a a capability that was never available to us before, and this just came, very recently. And actually, this technology, these large language models have been around for several years, but it's this ChatGPT and Bard that have brought it to the public attention, and they have made it available to anybody. Just to show you how this works, these are all built on what are called foundational models. You have these AI systems like Palm, GPT, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E. And then using those is what we build the application that like Bard, ChatGPT, InstructGPT, Midjourney, using a method called fine-tuning. So it's really GPT that's fine-tuned that gives you ChatGPT. GPT that's fine-tuned in a different way that gives you InstructGPT. Palm 2 is what's giving us Bard. So what the power really comes is that you can take these foundation models and when you train them on your own data. And that's the real power, where ChatGPT is a nice fun tool to have. But beyond that, the real power comes when you train it on your own organizational data. And once again, this was a report which came out by McKinsey, I think about 3 weeks ago, where they estimate that just these generative AI systems will add something between $2.6 to $4.4 trillion to the world economy in the next 5 to 10 years. And this is once again through three ways. One is cost reductions and new revenue opportunities, but the big change comes in productivity improvements. Take a copywriter. Copywriter takes maybe 2 hours to prepare a marketing material, but now that same bit of marketing material can be generated probably to a higher quality in about 5 to 10 minutes, which means what somebody can do maybe 3 or 4 tasks a day, now they can do 20 of those tasks in a day. And that's simply productivity improvements. They can be qualitative improvements as well. And this can be applied to so many different tasks just because they have the ability to process language using computers, which means you can scale them, you can make them faster and better. And this shows how this value addition is being given through incremental economic impact and productivity improvements. And there are a number of use cases that you can build using these ChatGPT type systems. You can do custom operations, you can enhance customer service interactions, use them for training your call center agents. You can do customer self-service. You can make sure that your conflicts are resolved during the initial contact itself because you have more information in there. For marketing and sales, efficient content creation, SEO, and also we as programmers now, I still probably spend about 10% of my time coding. And now I get ChatGPT to write out of my code. So, the type of stuff that used to take me a week to do, 7 days of work to do, now I can get done in 1 day. Because I just tell ChatGPT what I want and it writes that tiny bit of code for me and then I put it all together. So my productivity has probably increased by 5 to 10-fold just because I can use these systems. So before I end, like I said, what I did today was I just skimmed the surface. There's honestly a ton of stuff that I didn't cover. I would urge you all to go out and look at governance, regulation, compliance and risk, roles and responsibilities, what makes an AI team, the skills and talent that you need, and also things like data quality and management, data bias, how to operationalize AI, ML ops, machine learning operations, how do you build production systems, and also cloud platforms. Even at Dialog, something we are still learning is how to properly use these cloud platforms because costs can spiral. And that can overshadow what you're earning from your AI systems if you don't manage the costs. So that's something you really have to know exactly how to use. So to end, to summarize, an AI transformation must be led at the strategic level to create impact and value. The problem is that most companies have very few senior executives who are comfortable with advanced technology, and that's a problem. And relying on a single techie in your company to give you that advice really could lead to failure. So what I urge all of you all to do is to not become programmers, but try to get a high-level understanding of what AI is. If not, you won't have the insight to be able to drive these investments. An AI transformation is a journey and cannot be achieved overnight. Investment in the basics is foundational, but more importantly, to generate value, at least from the stats we have up to now, The key is how you build a company that has organization learning. Okay, thank you.
For those wonderful insight and a very timely topic for all the C-level executives seated here today. In the interest of time, we will have to skip the Q&A session, Doctor. But if you have any questions, you can forward it to CPM. They will send it to Dr. Ranawana and we'll get the adequate answers. I'm sorry we are unable to accommodate the questions because of the fact that we have gone past the time. Give value to all your valuable time that you all have to go back and start your day's work. We have come to the concluding part of the CEO Compact, but prior to do so, we have two important presentations to be done. The first presentation is the research publication of the CPM Management Research Forum 2022 on the theme of achieving business and institutional growth through insightful research. To make the presentation, let me invite on stage the founder and president of CPM Sri Lanka, Professor Lakshmana Vatawala, who will be accompanied by Dr. Samatha Ratnayaka, chairman of CPM Management Research Forum 2022, as well as Mr. Gayan Gunawardana, head of technical committee, and Mr. Dilshan Asagularatna, director of CPM Sri Lanka. To present the publication, or rather receive the publication, let me invite Mr. Sandul Hapugo, the country manager, Sri Lanka and Maldives of MasterCard, as well as Mrs. Mahesha Amarasuriya, director, MasterCard Sri Lanka, on stage as well. So MasterCard is a strategic partner, a sponsor to CPM Sri Lanka. You are witnessing the presentation of CPM Management Research Forum 2022 research publication on the theme of achieving business and institutional growth through insightful research. Let me kindly request Mr. Gayan and Dr. Samantha to take. So next presentation is the presentation of the Chartered Manager Journal, July 2023 issue, which will be presented along with Professor Lakshmana Vatawala, Mr. Dilshan Asagularatna, and also I would like to invite Mr. Kosta Disanayaka, chairman of the CPM General Committee, to also join this presentation. And that presentation is also to MasterCard. Let me cordially invite once again Mrs. Mahesha Amarasuriya, director, MasterCard Sri Lanka, as well as Mr. Sandul Hapugoda, country manager, Sri Lanka and Maldives for MasterCard, to receive this publication. Thank you very much, the lady and the gentleman. I kindly request Professor Vatawala to remain on stage. Professor Vatawala to remain on stage, as well as Mr. Dilshan Asagularatna, director of CPM. We have a special token of appreciation to our keynote speaker, Dr. Romesh Ranawana. Dr. Ranawana, if you could kindly come and receive this token of appreciation from CPM Sri Lanka. A token from Professor Lakshmana Vatawala, the president and founder of CPM. We have another presentation, a token to Doctor, token to you from the director of CPM Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause to our keynote speaker, Dr. Romesh Ranawana. So that concludes the presentation. Thank you very much, gentlemen. On that note, it's time now officially to conclude the CEO Compact organized by the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. And we hope you had a good time and, of course, worth your knowledge to have in the morning. And amidst your busy schedules, it's great that all of you are here, 100 plus C-level executives, the galaxy of stars in the corporate world at the CEO Compact of CPM. And also we have a take-home gift, which is again on the theme of sustainability. A plant of pomegranate is there. That's the take-home gift. So again, considering the fact that CPM is well focused on the sustainability, and I'm sure all of you are as well. So on that note, until we meet next time in yet another event of CPM, have a pleasant day and all the very best. Thank you very much.